This is everything you need to know to beat Operatia Inversia, or the main Outbreak Easter egg. This is mainly a solo guide, but if you're playing co-op, you can definitely follow this guide. This video contains a lot of part locations, so let's not waste any more time. Before you jump into your game, let's go over a few things real quick. First off, most importantly, the class setup. I personally think the best weapon for the Legion boss fight is the M16. Here's all the attachments I have on mine if you want to copy it. There's probably better setups out there, but this one works fine. Make it a custom weapon mod and also make a second custom mod with the same attachments as the first one, but also put a ×2 or ×4 scope on it. A scope will come in handy more often than you'd think in Outbreak, so make sure you do this. As for your wand, this is controversial. I know everyone likes to run Frenzy Guard, but I think AETHER Shroud is better for this boss fight. Everyone picks Frenzy Guard because it gives you armor and it makes the zombies walk, but I've had way too many runs die because a mimic grabbed me while I was in Frenzy Guard to stop me from breaking an orb and subsequently failing the boss fight. So run AETHER Shroud and also make sure it's tier 5 as well. The final thing you should do, and this goes for only people who have completed other Easter eggs in this game, like D Machine's main quest, Firebase Z, and so on. Back in and out of a private game of Outbreak Collapse until you see Zoo. Vote Zoo and then go to this area to form a pack to increase your starting weapon's rarity depending on how many Easter eggs you've already completed. To start the actual Easter egg, you need to get to round 3. But when you first start the game, you should open your map and you should see a couple orange icons on the map. These are called world events. Throughout the course of this game, you want to do basically every single one that you can, because one of the most important things to beating this Easter egg is maxing out your M16 from red rarity all the way to epic rarity, and also getting tier 3 Pack-a-Punch, which costs a lot of points and a lot of salvage. And thanks to completing these world events, you'll get a ton of points, but more importantly, you can get free salvage, free armor, Pack-a-Punch upgrades, and you could even get a ray gun, which is extremely helpful in this boss fight. After you do all the world events on round 1, do the first main objective and travel to round 2. Now, do not do the round skip Easter egg because you want to do as many world events for loot as you can to upgrade your M16, but also, for the boss fights, you want to be on as low of a round as you possibly can be. This is because the higher of a round that you're on in the boss fight, the more panzers will spawn, the more megatons will spawn, and the more abominations will spawn. As you can see here, if you go in on round 5, which is the lowest round you can, mostly mimics and maybe a few manglers will spawn. But in this other game where I got to the boss fight on round 8, I had a bunch of panzers spawning, a bunch of megatons spawning, and it's just not enjoyable to do it like this, so stay on a low round. On round 2, do the same as round 1 and go to round 3. On round 3, just like rounds 1 and 2, do all the world events that you can and the main objective, but while you're doing so, you want to look around the map to find a radio. I'm going to explain this step first and then show you all the locations for this. When you interact with the radio on your current map, it'll give you feedback, and anytime you get feedback on this step, zombies and a couple boss enemies will spawn. You'll need to take them all out to continue with this step. After you kill all the zombies, the radio will show a signal level. You need to change the signal levels on the 3 nearby amplifiers to the radio's current signal level. Once you match the amplifiers to the radio, you can go back to the radio and interact with it, and it'll drop the beacon listening device. Make sure you pick this up, and whatever you do not go to the next round without listening to this guide on the other side of the part locations. So now that you understand this step, go to the chapters below this video and skip to the chapter of the map that you're currently on for round 3. Then once you get the device, skip to this chapter. After you get the device from the radio, go to the beacon to go to the next round, but instead of going to the next round, in this menu there will be a third option called Respond. Make sure you do this on the same round that you found the beacon listening device, because if you don't do this step on the same round you did the radio step, this step will glitch out and you'll have to restart this entire quest in a new game. Once you click Respond though, after MAXIS stops talking, you can then head to the next round. On round 4, do all the water vents and you should be close to maxing out your M16 by this point. But on this round, for the main quest, you need to find 4 monkey statues around the map and shoot them. One of them will drop a microfilm slide. Pick it up, then go to the projector on your map and insert the microfilm slides. Again, skip to the chapter of the map that you're currently on for both all 4 monkey locations and the projector location. This was so much work, so you better drop a like for my dedication. After you put the slides in a projector, you can go to the next round. If you did everything right, then you should be teleporting to RUKA. And if you are teleporting to RUKA, this is your last round of the game, and the objective of this round is the main quest, so don't worry about it until you're fully ready. If you see the black chest world event on the map on this round, be sure to do it, because completing this world event will free the lost soul, and for the rest of the current round when you free him, anytime you come close to dying, the lost soul will come out and kill all the zombies around you, basically giving you a second chance. But when you're ready, go to the objective and go down the elevator. Once you're at the bottom, take a left to enter Silo D and rappel up to the top of it. Run around the top of Silo D until you find this area. Go up to it and you'll see 3 lights, 2 red and 1 green. This is actually telling us the launch order for the rockets for the step after the one we're currently on. We technically don't need to worry about this step just yet, because there's still another step we have to do before we have to launch the rockets. But after we watch this cutscene coming up, super spinning zombies and bosses will be spawning pretty much at all times, so I feel it's easier to get this out of the way now. So you want to write down Silo D and whichever light is green for you, whether it's the first light, the second, or the third. In my game, the third light in Silo D was green, so when I launch the rockets, I know that I need to activate Silo D last. After you write that down, follow where I go to get to the hub, then travel to Silo A. And when you get here, same thing. Run around the top floor in Silo A until you see the launch console. Walk up to it and see which one is green for Silo A. So again, in my game, the second light in Silo A was green, so I have to launch the A rocket second and the D rocket last. Whichever button wasn't green in either silo that you've checked so far is when you need to launch Silo B. So the order I have to launch my rockets in is B, A, and D. But when you write down the rocket launch order, drop down to the bottom of Silo A and hit this button to lift the lockdown. Doing this will start a cutscene, and on the other side of this cutscene, you will need to collect 3 launch keys in these silos to launch the rockets. Since we spawned in Silo B, we're going to work on this one first. So drop down to the bottom of Silo B and run around it until you see this area with an ether canister. Interact with it to start the step. Also, I should just mention, at this point in the game, do not, whatever you do not go in the hub area that connects all 4 silos until I tell you to. It's for a good reason, so just don't go in there yet. But nonetheless, when you interact with the ether canister, now you need to shoot 20 ether crystals and collect the crystal chunks that they drop. These only spawn in Silo B, and you can find 1 bunch of crystals in the top floor, 1 bunch of crystals on each floor in the rocket, and 2 bunches of crystals on the bottom floor of the silo. If you collected every single one, then you should have grabbed 20. Now return to the ether canister and hold your interact button on it for 20 seconds straight. During this process, Tempests and Plague Hounds will spawn, but with Brain Rot, they shouldn't be an issue. Also, if you need to, pop Ether Shroud for this step. When you put all 20 in, the canister will lower and you won't be able to grab it for a certain amount of time. So while we wait for this, we're going to work on a different launch key for now. On the bottom floor of Silo B, you can find this area which will take you back to Silo A. For this launch key, we're going to trap a monkey in an essence trap. So obviously, to start, you need to grab the essence trap in this location, and then look at the vents in Silo A for one with a blue light coming out of it. Without getting too close to it, you want to throw the essence trap directly below him that's in reachable distance for you. If you or the trap get too close to the monkey, he'll run to another vent and you'll have to track him down to redo this. But if it worked, Ravenov will say, "Who doesn't love a banana?" And when you hear this, you can run away from the vent. A couple seconds later, the essence trap will give you the prompt to activate it. Do so, then return to the trap to grab the first launch key. At this point, the ether canister should be ready to pick up, so return to Silo B via the way you previously came and pick it up. Now also, keep in mind that when you pick this up, you'll only have 3 uses of it until it goes away. And to beat this step efficiently, you will need all 3 blasts for different steps. So if you can, don't use the ether canister until I tell you to. Speaking of doing stuff I told you not to though, at this point you can now enter the hub. I said to avoid this area because it is filled with mimics, but if you can, just ignore them for now and run straight to Silo C. When you get here, grab the fake launch key from this dude's chest to spawn a red mimic. As soon as the red mimic spawns, use one of your ether canister blasts to take him out. Now that'll take out the red mimic, but the normal mimics will probably still be alive, so get up close to them and use the ether canister blast one more time to take care of the rest of them. And now that you killed the red mimic, this room is officially mimic free, so you can travel here all you want to now. But where you killed the red mimic will be the real launch key. Pick it up, then head to Silo D. Head to the set of stairs that's directly to the right of the launch console, and go 1 floor below and use your last ether canister blast while pressed up against this guardrail. If you did it right, you'll get a white flash and the jellyfish will suck you towards them. When you start descending, you want to spam your interact button to place the canister and grab the launch key. Again, if you didn't grab the key, then you'll need to redo the canister step from the beginning. Now that you have all 3 launch keys though, now is your last chance to get set up. In the top floor of Silo A, you can find the arsenal, and the top floor of Silo B, you can find the Pack-a-Punch, and in the top floor of Silo D, you can find the Wonder Fizz. I've said it 5 times so far this video, but it's very important. Max out your M16. Also get 2 Casimir portals and either C4s or Semtexes, and also make sure you get the War Machine. And finally, get all of your perks, get fresh armor, and if you went down, get another self-revive. When you're finally ready, you want to launch the rockets at the launch consoles in the same order that we found earlier. So again, in my game, B had the first green light, A had the second green light, and D had the third green light. So the order I have to activate the rockets in my game is B, A, and D. But you'll have a different order in your game, so do what it is in your game. As soon as you interact with the first one, you need to hurry and run to the other 2, because you only have 30 seconds to do this. But when you launch all 3, you can return to the hub and run up these stairs and open the door to start the boss fight. At this point, you only have 10 minutes of the game left. And while we're talking about the timer, let me just say this off the rip. Ignore the timer. It is strictly there to mess with you. Trust me, you have more than enough time to beat this boss fight. You can afford to fail to destroy the Legion's orbs up to 3 times in this boss fight and still have enough time to take them out. So the timer isn't an issue for this boss fight, but if you let the timer get to you, it'll make you rush and eventually you'll end up making some really stupid mistakes that'll cost you the run, so ignore the timer. After around 20 seconds, the Legion will spawn right in front of you. When he first spawns, you want to get up close to him and unload your M16 into his chest, which is his weak spot. Just focus fire on him because no enemies will spawn in this boss fight until the Legion first teleports. So until he teleports, focus fire on him. To beat this boss fight, you want to shoot the Legion's chest until you break his armor. And then after you break his armor, you want to spray the orbs that fly out of him until you destroy all 3. I'm going to explain his 2 attacks real quick. His first attack is an AoE attack, in which when he does this, you can't get too close to him without taking damage. He does this almost every single time he teleports, so watch out for that. And his second attack is a charge-up attack that happens when he makes this sound. And anytime you hear this sound, get away from where you currently are, as that's where he'll attack every single time. Getting back to the boss fight though, when he first teleports, at this point you want to stay on the run basically for the rest of the game. And just so you know, when he's over the hatches in this boss fight arena, you can't break his armor. You can still damage him, but you just can't make the orbs fly out of him. So when he's over the hatches, instead of focusing damage on him, I would focus on getting rid of the enemies that are chasing you. Specifically, you want to kill all the elite enemies that are in the map. And a great way to do this is by using Turned on either a Mimic or a Mangler. Turned boss enemies will take out the other boss enemies in the boss fight relatively easily, and also, anytime a boss enemy dies, check to see if they drop an armor plate or an armor vest, because it's your only way of getting armor in this boss fight. But besides that, use your M16 to take out the zombies, and if you need to, use 2 or 3 shots of your War Machine to take them out. Also, try not to use Aether Shroud unless you absolutely have to, because we'll be using it to take out the Legion's orbs. Speaking of, when he teleports to a street, you can actually break his armor here, so spray into him while also staying on the run. When you break his armor, 3 orbs will fly out of him. As soon as you break his armor, you want to pop Aether Shroud and run up close to him and spray only 1 of his orbs with the M16. If you hit your shots, then you should have done enough damage to break the orb, but if you didn't, it's totally fine. It's not the end of the world because, like I said, you can fail to break an orb 3 times in this boss fight and still have enough time to win. When you break an orb, the Legion will make the boss fight arena smaller, but besides that, the strat stays the same for the second orb. Shoot him when he's not over a hatch, and when he is, focus on crowd control. Use Turned on a Mimic or a Mangler, spray your M16 into the horde of zombies, and use your War Machine if you need to. Another tip I can give you is, when he's in an area to break his armor, throw a Casimir portal at your feet to take care of the normal zombies. When you break his armor again, same thing. Pop Aether Shroud and run up close to him and spray the second orb with your M16 to break it. When you break the second one, he'll make the boss fight arena even smaller, but besides that, it's basically the same thing for the last orb. The only thing you gotta worry about here is, don't focus fire on him until you recharge your Aether Shroud. Trust me whenever I say you don't want to do all the damage to break his armor, just for you to not have Aether Shroud or the Mimics and Manglers constantly stop you from shooting his orb. You can damage him here and there, but do not break his armor until you charge Aether Shroud. But when it's charged, break his armor for the final time, pop Aether Shroud, and run up to him and spray the last orb to beat the Outbreak main Easter egg. I hope I was able to help you with this guide. If I was, be sure to drop a like. Even if I wasn't able to help you with this guide, I put a lot of time into getting all the part location and everything, so even if I wasn't able to help you and you just appreciate my dedication, you should drop a like for that too. If you're still having trouble after watching this guide, be sure to comment down below and I will try to help you out even further. Shout out to all my members, thank you so much for supporting me. If you want to become a member, you can do so by clicking the top link in the description or clicking the join button below this video. Thank you all so much for watching and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out everybody.